Hello friends, welcome to Dungeons & Dragonfly, where I adapt various characters for use in D&D. I'm Dragonfly9078, and today's build is Penny Polendina. Damn it, Alita, the Battle Angel. I keep doing that. I don't know why, they're not even similar. Alita is a robot girl with big eyes and bigger optimism, whose father is a scientist from a floating city who spends his time running a clinic in the slums down below. She was designed for combat, making her super strong and good with swords, but was ripped to pieces by a bunch of cables with blades on the ends. Luckily, her core survived, and her father was able to put her in a new body that's even stronger than the old one. She hangs around with her teenage friends and has a strong sense of justice, but she and those around her are put in danger because she houses a mysterious power source beyond modern capabilities to replicate that the bad guys of Salem are trying to get their hands on. Penny isn't like that at all. So, what do we want from this build? Well, as a robot soldier, we need to be good at fighting, both unarmed and with our signature Damascus blade. Most of our opponents, both on the battlefield and on the motorball track, will be much bigger than us, so we'll need to compensate by being fast and agile. And finally, once we find out the extent of our power, it's easy to feel invincible, so we'll need the kind of cocky attitude that leads to challenging a bar full of bounty hunters to a fight. Looking over at ability scores, Alita was specially designed for combat, so we'll go along with that and use a point buy. If you want to roll for stats, that's fine, but we'll need strength and dexterity to be high enough to multiclass. With that in mind, we'll start off with 15s in strength and dexterity. Alita excels in basically any physical activity she puts her mind to. Follow up with a 13 in constitution. She's tougher than most folks, thanks to being a cyborg, but she does get torn to pieces somewhat regularly. Intelligence and wisdom are both 8s. Her amnesia means that any history she knows is through mysterious flashbacks, and she can be overly trusting and naive. And we'll finish up with a 12 in charisma. The angel in Battle Angel is literally about her being beautiful, and she has a lot of fans once she hits the motorball circuit. Alita is a cyborg, so of course we'll be making her a Warforged. All Warforged get +2 to their constitution and +1 to any other stat. I'm going to say strength. They're also immune to disease, resistant to poison damage, and have advantage on saves against poison, don't need to eat, drink, breathe, or sleep, and can't be put to sleep or aged by magic. Warforged tend to be tougher to damage than most other races, since they're usually made of metal, giving them +1 to their AC. They also physically bond with the armor they wear, meaning that it takes an hour to put on or take off, and the armor can't be removed by force. They're also usually designed for a specific purpose, giving them proficiency with any one skill and tool. Take Arcana for an instinctive understanding of Tech, and Tinker's tools to help Dr. Ito with repairs in the clinic. There's a couple of different backgrounds that can work for Alita, but since she's a motorball prodigy, I'm going to go with Athlete, for proficiency with Acrobatics, Athletics, and land vehicles. I wouldn't normally call rollerblades vehicles, but they are motorized, so it seems appropriate. If you want to lean more on her history with the then Soldier works just fine, giving you Athletics, land vehicles, and Intimidation instead of Acrobatics. Alita's all about being fast and elusive, so we'll start off as a rogue, giving us 4 skills from the rogue list, like Stealth, Perception, Performance, and either Intimidation or Acrobatics, whichever one you didn't get from your background. 2 of our skills use double our proficiency bonus thanks to our expertise. My picks are Arcana, since we just instinctively know how to use Tech from the beginning, and Athletics for our superhuman, athletics. We also get Sneak Attack, letting us deal a bunch of extra damage once per turn when we hit with a finesse or ranged weapon, as long as we had advantage on the attack or we had an ally within 5 feet of the attack target and didn't have disadvantage. Alita has basically 2 attacks, punching people and the Damascus Blade. Sneak Attack doesn't work with punching, but I'd argue the Damascus Blade is a scimitar, so this will give it that monomolecular edge that cuts through anything. The damage starts as 1d6 and adds another d6 every other rogue level, so by the time we're done, our sneak attack will be adding 5d6 extra damage to our attacks. Second level rogues get to boost their speed with Cunning Action, letting us dash, disengage, or hide using our bonus action. And at 3rd level, we'll become a Swashbuckler for even fancier footwork. If we make a melee attack against a creature, we don't provoke opportunity attacks from them for the rest of the turn, so we can escape those big motorball pileups. We also get Rakish Audacity, letting us add our Charisma modifier to our initiative rolls, and since we can't always count on there being allies around to enable our sneak attack, we can now also use it if the attack target is the only creature within 5 feet of us, even if we don't have advantage. We do still need to be using the right weapon and can't have disadvantage though. We'll be getting a bunch of ability score improvements on this build, so we'll use the first one to boost our strength by 2. 5th level rogues get Uncanny Dodge, letting us use our reaction to cut the damage from an attack that hits us in half. I think this is supposed to represent us reacting supernaturally fast to an attack, or twisting in a bizarre way to avoid it, and Alita can certainly do that. That would take exceptional acrobatic skill, though, so we'll pick up expertise in acrobatics at 6th level, along with expertise in intimidation. To continue in the theme of twisting out of the way of things, we get evasion at level 7. If we would take damage from failing a dexterity save, we take half damage, and if we would take half damage from passing a dexterity save, we instead take no damage. With our second ability score improvement, we'll cap off our strength. If you prefer to boost dexterity, that's fine. Both are going to be capped by the end of the build, so it really doesn't matter which order we do them in. 9th level Swashbucklers get Panache, letting us make ourselves the center of attention. As an action, we can make a persuasion check against a target's insight. If we succeed and the creature isn't hostile toward us, they're charmed for up to a minute, or until we or our companions do anything harmful to them, regarding us as a friendly acquaintance. If they were hostile, instead they focus on us, getting disadvantage on any attacks they make against targets that aren't us. They also just straight up can't make opportunity attacks against creatures that aren't us, so our friends can slip by them. Again, these effects last for a minute, but they end early if one of our allies attacks the target or affects it with a spell, or if we're more than 60 feet from the target. Now, this is flavored as a speech-based effect, since the target has to be able to hear us, but I'm going to say that this really reflects how they feel about our freaky real-life anime eyes. Some people don't care or actively like them, and some people react with such animosity that they just can't focus on anything else. We'll finish off our rogue levels with another ability score improvement, boosting our dexterity by 2, then hop over for a quick dip into Barbarian. Alita only wears armor during Motorball, and even then it's not especially thick armor, and relies on her agility and cyborg body the rest of the time, so we need Unarmored Defense, making our AC 10 plus our dex modifier plus our con modifier. We also get to go into a rage, which I'm flavoring more as letting her ingrained fighting instincts take over, giving us advantage on strength checks and saves, plus 2 damage to strength-based attacks, and resistance to physical damage for up to a minute twice per day. To go along with that, we also get Reckless Attack, letting us get advantage on strength-based attacks, in return for giving our enemies advantage on attacks against us, letting us always have access to our sneak attack whenever we need it. Interesting note, while sneak attack does need to use a finesse weapon, it doesn't actually need to use our dexterity, meaning as long as the attack we're using is finesse, like our Damascus Blade Scimitar, we can still use strength for the attack, and get our bonuses from Reckless Attack and Rage. And since both our dexterity and strength will be capped by the end, there's really no advantage to using one or the other. We'll also enhance our instinctive dodging with Danger Sense, giving us advantage on dexterity saves against visible effects like spells and traps. Combine that with our evasion and our proficiency with dex saves, and we should be able to take fireballs to the face no problem. We'll finish up with 8 levels of Fighter. I mentioned earlier that Alita attacks with either her sword or her fists. We have the sword, now let's get the fists. The Unarmed Fighting style trains us in the Panzerkunst martial art, making our unarmed strikes deal a d6 of damage, or a d8 if we have both hands free. And if we're grappling someone, we can deal a d4 every turn to them with our super strong cyborg fingers. We also get Second Wind for some Berserker Body nanomachines, letting us heal 1d10 plus our fighter level HP once per rest using our bonus action. And at 2nd level, we can kick into a higher gear with Action Surge, letting us take a second action on our turn once per rest. Remember, this does let us take a second attack action, but it doesn't let us use our sneak attack again. As an alien war machine, we're highly trained, making us a battle master. As a student of war, we get proficiency with one kind of artisan's tools. I'm going to say smith's tools. We can also put our Panzerkunst skills toward proving our superiority, with 4 superiority dice, which are d8s that we can use to fuel our maneuvers, and that refill on a short rest. With Trip Attack, we add a superiority die to the damage when we hit with a weapon attack, which can be an unarmed attack by the way. Then the creature we hit has to make a strength save if they're large or smaller, falling prone on a fail. With Riposte, we can spend a die as a reaction to a creature missing us with a melee attack, letting us make an attack against them, adding the die to the damage on a hit. And of course, we have to have Alita's signature Panzerkunst technique, the disarming attack. We add the die to the damage of an attack we hit with, then the creature we hit has to make a strength save or drop whatever it is they're holding. The next 3 levels are pretty straightforward. 4th level boosts our dexterity to 19 with an ability score improvement. 5th level lets us attack twice with extra attack, though keep in mind we can only apply our sneak attack damage once per turn, regardless of how many attacks we get. And 6th level gets us another ability score improvement, so we can cap off our dexterity and round our constitution off to 16, for a total of 19 AC with our Unarmored Defense and Integrated Protection. 7th level Battle Masters get to know their enemy. If we spend a minute observing a creature, we can tell if they are higher than, lower than, or equal to us, in our choice of 2 of Strength, Dexterity, or Constitution scores, AC, current HP, number of fighter levels, or total class levels. We also get a 5th superiority die and 2 more maneuvers. Pushing attack adds the die to our attack's damage and pushes the target back 15 feet if they're large or smaller and fail a strength save. And grappling strike lets us use our bonus action to try to grapple the target after hitting them with a melee attack, adding the die to our athletics check for the grapple. Our capstone is the 8th level of fighter for one last ability score improvement, but we're actually taking a feat this time. Artificer Initiate gives us a cantrip and a 1st level spell from the Artificer list, as well as proficiency with one more set of Artisan's tools. My pick is Leatherworker's tools to make that snazzy jumpsuit that Alita wears. We'll be using these spells to infuse our Damascus Blade with Plasma. Green Flame Blade lets us make a melee attack with a weapon, dealing an additional 3d8 fire damage on a hit. Then, fire jumps out to another creature within 5 feet of the attack target, dealing 3d8 plus our spellcasting modifier. Unfortunately, these spells use our intelligence, so it's 3d8 minus 1, but it still helps. For our 1st level spell, Arcane Weapon casts with our bonus action and makes our weapon magical for up to an hour with our concentration, letting it deal an extra 1d6 damage of our choice of fire, cold, acid, lightning, poison, or thunder for the duration. The only one that really fits is fire, but we can switch the type with our bonus action on subsequent turns if we need to. We can only cast Arcane Weapon once per day, but it does last for an hour. And keep in mind that since Green Flame Blade requires a weapon attack, we can still apply our sneak attack and maneuvers to it, letting us stack them for huge damage. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself, so now that the build is complete, the question becomes, how good is it? Well, like I was saying, we have consistently good damage, with the sneak attack Green Flame Blade dealing 66 plus 3d8 plus 5 damage, with optional additional damage from our maneuvers and Arcane Weapon. And since Green Flame Blade is a cantrip, we can do that as many times as we want, especially since we effectively always have access to our sneak attack thanks to Reckless Attack and Rakish Audacity. We're also extremely physically capable, with maxed out strength and dexterity scores, as well as expertise in athletics and acrobatics to allow us to parkour wherever we want. And we're real hard to get rid of, with 19 AC, practical immunity to effects that require a dexterity save, resistance to physical damage, and even some healing on top of our over 160 HP. Meaning we can get torn to shreds and get right back up to put our fist through our enemy's face. On the other hand, we're great physically, but mentally we're a little bit lacking, with 8s in both intelligence and wisdom, so we might have to watch out for charming effects and psychic damage. We also have basically nothing at range. We can close distances quickly, but if we have to fight someone in the air, we're basically out of luck. And finally, the problem that every barbarian caster faces, we can't cast our spells while we rage. So if we want to make use of our physical resistances, we can't use our Green Flame Blade or our Arcane Weapon. But that kind of makes sense in a way. If we're letting our instincts take over for better fighting abilities, we can't concentrate to channel the plasma from our body into the sword. You're the best at fighting, so fight through the Motorball League and make it to Salem to avenge your boyfriend. Just be careful not to get hacked, or you might have to open the vault and then self-terminate. Damn it, I did it again. I hope you enjoyed the build. If you have any feedback or suggestions for characters you'd like to see me build, please leave them in the comments below. Thank you for watching, friends. I will see y'all later.